Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Why of It All. Gina and I are really excited today. We have a special first-time guest joining us, and her name is Darcie Burtch. And after walking through nearly a decade of trauma, Darcie made a decision 2 years ago to stop surviving and start healing. And isn't that just right up our alley, Gina?
For sure.
Since then, Darcie's life has been transformed, not because it's been easy, but because she let God use every broken piece to build something beautiful. Today, she is the host of the School of Hard Knocks podcast and a best-selling author, and I can't wait to hear about that. And she is on a mission to help women rediscover their self-worth, reclaim their voice, and rebuild their lives. And I'm so looking forward to this conversation. So without further ado, welcome, Darcie.
Hello.
Hi, Darcie.
Hi.
Welcome
Thank
to our
you.
show.
Thanks.
So I had a chance to watch one of your episodes of your podcast and peruse your Facebook a little bit. And I just have to say, I love your whole vibe. Your whole vibe is about positivity and healing and staying focused on that journey. Can you tell us a little bit about your background? Because I know you've been through some shit.
I mean, that's putting it mildly.
Heck yeah. Yeah. Isn't that funny that I say shit and then I said heck yeah? So okay, that's whatever.
Well, because you know what? The shit that we go through actually builds who we are, right?
Absolutely.
So I have no regrets of anything in my life. I mean, everything I've gone through, as traumatic as a lot of it has been, has made me the woman that I am here today. So it's hard to regret having to go through the things that we go through. So my background starts all over the place. My first traumatic memory starts at the age of 4. I grew up in a very toxic household with a father that was abusive. He was an alcoholic. He used drugs. I'm the oldest of 9, so I have 8 siblings. So that's wild just in itself.
Holy moly, yeah.
So there was a lot of like having to protect my siblings when things were going down in the household. My parents eventually got divorced when I was 16 years old. And my mom ended up getting into another relationship that was also toxic. And she ended up separating our whole entire family. So all of my siblings went to go and live with different people in my dad's family. And my dad was obviously toxic because his family was toxic. So now there's siblings that are living, with my dad's family. So we're all separated. I got to stay because I was 16 years old. I was self-sufficient. But I knew that I was no way, shape, or form being taught how to be an adult in the world. So I ran away and ended up having to go into what they have here is called a shelter home. I don't know what they call it where you guys are from, but it's basically like a teen detention center. And I asked my social worker at that time if she would put me into a foster home. And she said, "That is so crazy. I've never been asked by a kid to go into a foster home. What's going on?" And I said, "Well, I want a shot. I'm almost 17 years old and I know nothing about life. I don't know. How do you hook up? I often tell my viewers, it was like off of Step Brothers, if you've ever seen that, when he's like, what do you do? Do you like carry your diploma around with you everywhere? Like, what do you do? So she put me into a foster home. And 3 days after I was in this foster home, I found out I was pregnant. And I was like, oh, this is just like a real bad country song happening right about now, because what is going on in my life? And then I started feeling sick, and I was actually having an ectopic pregnancy. So I ended up losing the baby. And then the first foster home turned out to be toxic. So I moved into a second, and they were very Brady Bunch like. And I was like, no, I cannot. Like, we're all eating at the table. You're asking me how school was and what I want to do with my future. This ain't it for me either. So I actually emancipated myself. And I moved out at 17 years old and was paying bills before I was old enough to vote. So, I mean, just so crazy trying to come into even being an adult. And then I met my husband at 19, and we had gone through a lot of different things. There's a 7-year age difference between us. So there was a lot of different things at the beginning of our relationship that I'm surprised we meshed and actually made it work because it was just so different. And then I went through a lot of different things in corporate America as far as corporate betrayal. But my biggest, most recent traumatic event was October 3rd, 2019, when my dad became a survivor of a workplace shooting. So,
Wow.
you just kind of wonder, like, how can so many different things happen to one person? And what am I going to do? I'm 39 years old at this point, and my dad just got shot at work, and they are telling me that he has a traumatic brain injury, and they don't know if he's going to be in a vegetative state, if he's going to survive, and I am his next of kin. So I have big decisions to make.
How scary.
Very
How
scary. The whole thing was just extremely traumatic. I mean, it's crazy how your brain just really goes into like autopilot when things are so scary. Because what are you? I've never had to make decisions for somebody else's life, let alone the man who gave me life. So after thinking about it, praying on it, 21 days later, I decided to have him trached and pegged to give him a chance at life. So he had a feeding tube and he had a trach so that he could breathe. And we went through 21 days of intensive care and not knowing how he was going to make it out. And then he did 823 days in brain rehab. So that was
Hold on, I don't math. 823 days. That's 2 3/4 years ish.
About, yeah.
Wow.
Years.
Yeah, we actually initially went to Chicago. So I'm from Wisconsin. And so he went to Chicago. So, God does things perfectly all the time. And, it's like putting your positive cap on is the only way you're going to make it through the things that happen in your life, for real. So if my dad had to get shot anywhere, praise God it happened at work because his workman comp paid for everything. There's no way. Like me and all of my siblings could have mortgaged and sold everything we had, and we could have never given him the care that he received.
Talk about a silver lining, Darcie.
Had to find one.
Had to.
Wow.
Yeah. So I moved down to Chicago for 19 days and stayed at the Ronald McDonald House. And I would walk over to the facility he was in and went through all of the rehab with him. I'd be laying on the floor trying to get his attention during therapy. And it took him forever to emerge from a coma. I mean, I really thought, oh boy, if this is how my dad is when we both get up to heaven someday, he's going to be real mad. He's going to be like, why did you save me? And I'm like, oh gosh, please don't let this be like the reality of how he was like stuck in there.
I was going to ask, was he able to communicate during this time, or he was not able to communicate with you?
For the first 2 months, there was no communication at all. And then it's very interesting because just like if you picture any type of wound, as it heals, the scar tissue comes into play more, right? So initially, all of a sudden, my dad one day, I'll never forget it, I was carrying his laundry out of his therapy room. And I said, okay, Dad, I'm going to go and do your laundry and I'll be right back. And the nurses were in there and he said, I love you. And I was like, I dropped the basket. And I said, did you hear that? And they're like, we all heard that. And I like ran over. I'm like, oh my gosh, say it again. Say it again. He just kind of looked at me. I'm like, oh, you're not going to say it again, are you?
Come on, Dad.
It's kind of like just that once in a blue moon thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, so it's gonna happen. My dad's going to eventually talk, right? So as the scar tissue started to continue on in his brain, the things we thought we were getting back, we actually started losing again. So it was such a painful thing. I mean, at one point we had him completely upright, starting to walk on his own. By the time I got him home, he was back to 24-hour care again. And I thought, wow, that is the crappiest roller coaster I've ever been on in my life. Just the pain of grieving the loss of somebody who's still alive is such a foreign pain that's so hard to explain. And then when you are the leading force behind protecting that person, being their advocate, you don't have time to like really grieve much at all, because now I'm here making all of these decisions for, is he coming home? How are we going to help him? So he did come home February 21st of 2022. And it was like Christmas. I
I can
thought,
imagine.
dad's in a wheelchair. We have to shower him, feed him, brush his teeth, brush his hair, dress him, do all of the PT, OT, speech therapy. It was just me and my husband like the whole time.
So you didn't have like I don't know what they're called, but a nurse who would come and support you guys? It was all
No.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a full-time job in itself.
Yeah.
In
It
itself.
was. It was the hardest, most rewarding thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Mm.
So he was home for 1,331 days. And 2 months ago tomorrow, I found him deceased in his bed.
Mm.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Darcie.
And you know what?
Unbelievable.
It's interesting because it's like I believe in the Lord so much. And I know that my dad is in the best place ever possible. But it's that earthly pain,
Yeah.
like especially when you're so used to taking care of somebody every single day. It's kind of like if you envision if you guys have kids, like when they go off to college and you're like, oh, okay, so what do I do now? It's that
Yeah.
feeling. Like for the first week, my husband was like, is dad still in the bathroom? Or did you get his medication? Or getting up in the morning and getting ready to go into hit. I mean, it was this habitual thing that we had done. And then it was just gone. It was just gone.
So it's been, you said 2.5 months?
2 months tomorrow.
2 months tomorrow.
No.
Gosh. So I have so many questions.
Ask away.
But since we're here right now, I'm interested very much in what these last 2 months have been like as you have slowly eased back into your life actually being about you again. Or some version of that, I imagine. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, very foreign. Very just, I trying to figure out who I'm supposed to be in my new identity. Because for 6 years,
Yes.
I've been my dad's protector. I've been his advocate. I've been his caregiver. I've been his daughter, So now I am who? Who am I? I know who I am. Like I'm Darcie. I'm a wife. I'm a grandma. I'm a fur baby mom. I'm a sister. I'm still a daughter. I have a mom. I'm a granddaughter. I have a 94-year-old grandmother who is just a freaking riot, and I have friends and cousins, and I'm a podcast host and a best-selling author. But my main title for 6 years was everything for my dad. So when your
Yeah.
main title gets taken away from you and the subtitles are still there, it's a very bizarre place to be. I mean, for the
Yes.
first 3 days, I couldn't even sit in my own living room because it was like every time I saw my dad's recliner, I'm out. I can't do it. I have to at least move myself to a different part of the house where it's not this constant. He should be sitting there. What did we do wrong? Could we have done something better? A certain commercial comes on, a certain song will play. That was my first breakdown. Like aside from the morning that I found him, 3 days later, my husband was playing music. And my dad loved music. When people ask me, well, tell me about your dad, my dad was a badass. My dad could have,
Mhm.
before all of this crap happened, when my dad could have walked up on any rock stage, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, and the crowd would have been, who's the new dude? Because he would have that was him. My whole childhood, he had hair down to his butt, had the ripped jeans. I mean, he was the guy.
Yeah.
So rock music was always my dad's thing. And that was my husband and my dad's connection. So, like in the morning, when my husband would be giving him a shower because it was more comfortable for my dad that way,
Sure.
Eric would be playing music. So it was all about music. And it was about 3 days after my dad passed away, and I came walking down the stairs and I heard music. And I thought, I'm not even going to look to my right because I know that I should see my dad sitting there in that recliner and he's not going to be there and it's just going to piss me off. I just know it. I can already feel it. So I just walked straight down, went through my dining room, went through my kitchen. I walked outside and I could feel like the breakdown coming. And old Darcie immediately popped in and was like, suck it up. You're fine. Everything is fine. Like, you're fine. Everything's fine. And I'm like, no, you're not freaking fine. Your dad just died.
Yeah.
What kind of person are you? What are you doing to your own self? If you were talking to somebody else, would you be like, your dad just died 3 days ago? You're fine. Of course you wouldn't say that. So why are you saying that to yourself? Let it go. Just do it. So I just almost scream cried, and my husband came running out, and he's like, what? And I said, it was the music. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even think about it. I said, no, babe, it's not you. It's just, we're only a couple of days in, and that was
Darcie,
my first trigger.
Sorry to interrupt you. Darcie, do you remember what song was playing when that 2 days later? And do you remember what song?
Yeah, it was Led
What
Zeppelin.
was it?
It was Led Zeppelin, Cashmere.
Oh,
Yeah. And
well,
my dad loved Led Zeppelin. Like, that was just his thing.
he was probably talking to you through that song. That's how I feel. Like he was like, I'm
Mhm.
still here, baby girl. I'm still here.
And
You
he
know?
has, I mean, the way that he has showed up since is crazy. So when my dad was first shot, the number 3 started showing up everywhere. So like, he was shot on 10/3. He had $301 in his pocket. The first person that donated to the GoFundMe to help me travel 4.5 hours away was $103. I'm like, who the heck
Right.
donates $103? Like, that is like the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Maybe
You
that was their
know?
lucky number too.
Yeah, so I'm just like picking this up. Well, then the bus that used to drive around the facility that we were in, they were bus 3. And then it was like certain receipts were like 333 and 3. I was like, what is this 3? So I'm talking to my followers one day, and one of them says, it's the Holy Trinity. It's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And I'm like, oh, of course it is.
Of course it is.
Of course it is. So I told my dad this after he came home. I said, Dad, 3, it's the number. My granddaughter, we have specific trees for our granddaughters because we're like the Griswolds. We put up 13 trees in our house. So they each have their own tree. And one of them we had just gotten from a neighbor. She wanted to get rid of it. She got it from like this festival of trees that they do here where people bid on trees. Well, wouldn't you know, the number that was on the tree was 3, of course. So I said to my dad, I'm like, God, Dad, when you were in therapy and even since you've been home, like 333 keeps showing up. So 4 days after my dad passed away, Eric and I we have a mountain here. It's called Rib Mountain. And they do skiing, but they do chairlifts during the fall. So we're on this chairlift and we're like coming down, and I see that all of these big poles have numbers on them. So I start saying in my head, well, Dad, if you're here, stop the lift outside of 3, right? Because checks out then. So we're going and we're going and we're getting close, and we pass it, and I'm like, oh, it's fine. Like, no, I'm not gonna get bummed out about it. It's fine. So we get to the bottom of the hill, and the guy goes, did you guys only go around once? And I'm like, yeah, isn't that all we're supposed to go around? That's what we paid for. And he's like, you know what? Go again. I thought, well, I ain't never been told that before. We've done this before. So, okay. So we're coming back up, and no shit if we did not stop outside of number 3.
Dad was just
"No
running a
way."
little late.
I said, well, it checks out too. I was like, oh, I said, babe, look. And I grabbed a picture of it. Well, when I got home, you see the 3, but then you see this huge green orb that looks like it has a heart in the
Stop.
middle of it. Yep, seriously. Yeah, well,
Wow.
and then it didn't even stop there. Then we get done and we go over to Kohl's to return something I had bought for him that obviously he doesn't need anymore. The only register that is open is number 3.
3.
So it's just been, and it's been this consistent thing, and it's been a really comforting thing.
Good.
Because when you lose somebody, you are more open typically to just seeing those kind of things now, and it brings you comfort to some degree.
Yeah.
So it's been 2 months of, just everything is so different. Packing his stuff up, packing his bedroom up, donating his clothes, donating different things that we had to get rid of that we're no longer obviously going to have to use anymore. The wheelchair, the hospital bed, the lift that he had, the chair, the shower chair. I mean, all of this stuff. And then I have siblings, and my one sister who helped me so much with my dad was like, I can't even use dad's old bathroom down here. It's too much. So I went and I moved things around in there as much as I could, different pictures. And so when she came over like 2 weeks ago, I said, honey, I know you really don't want to, but I wish you would just try. And if it's still very uncomfortable, I'm going to respect that. She walks in, she walks out, she goes, that looks so nice in there. I said, oh, okay.
Okay.
Trying to make it comfortable for everybody that comes over now. So,
yeah. Let's rewind and go back to something that you said when you were talking about the way long ago past your childhood and everything. When you were in foster care and you talked about the second foster home you were in, that was like the Brady Bunch.
yeah.
And I found it so fascinating that even though what you were asking for was a chance to like be in a normal family situation and everything that you could learn from that, but when you were in it, it felt uncomfortable to you. I'm sure that you have. Can you tell us what, from your now vantage point of all of the healing work that you have done, what do you make of that experience?
Well, I had already experienced that one time before. So when I was 13 years old, I had a boyfriend. And we used to live next to each other, and then my family had moved, like we often did when I was a kid. But he would actually bike about 3-4 miles to come and see me on a weekend, and we would just hold hands and walk around the neighborhood. And he was the sweetest boy. And he would tell me all the time how beautiful that I was. And every time he said it, I felt like I wanted to throw up. It was the most uncomfortable. Man, I really wish he wouldn't say that. And I'm always a polite kid, so I wouldn't say, you need to stop saying that to me. I'd be like, oh, okay. And I'd just be real squeamish about it. So after it happened a couple of times, I just said to my mom, I'm like, Mom, every time he comes around, he says that I'm so beautiful. And it's so uncomfortable to me and I'm so squeamish. And she said, well, yeah, that's because you don't ever really hear your dad say that to me. And that's actually how a boy is supposed to talk to a girl, Darcie. So now here we fast forward, another 4 years, and I'm in a foster home. And my foster mom is asking me all of these questions and wanting to be a parent as, what you would want to have. And now it's back to making me feel uncomfortable. And it's because I don't know how to receive that. I know how to receive being yelled at, just, quit talking, sit down. We didn't have conversations about how was school. Are you going to go to college? That was never, ever a thing like in our household, so now obviously 46 years later, our daughter, when she was in school, she was getting bullied because she had acne. And we would tell her how beautiful she was all the time. And well, you have to say that because you're my mom. I said, well, no, honey, I don't have to say that because I'm your mom. I'm saying it because it's the truth. And, it's what we should be saying to each other out of kindness. But I very rarely had kindness, as a child. After my parents got divorced and my dad came around when I was about 20 years old and started acting semi decent to me. He was very encouraging, very supportive, very loving, which is why I opted to do what I did and take care of him for 6 years. It was a battle inside my mind at the beginning. When he first came home, I remember for the first probably 2 straight months, I would be feeding him and thinking to myself, gosh, I wonder if my dad ever fed me when I was a kid. I wonder if that was just probably more something that my mom did and my dad didn't. Like, I know that I took better care of my dad than he ever took care of me when I was a kid. And it really messed with my mind at the beginning because initially I was a little bit pissed off about it. I thought, why is this happening? And, why do I feel this emotional pull to do that? Well, now since starting the podcast, I did actually have a viewer ask me, how was it that you're able to take care of your dad when he's the one who started the whole school of hard knocks, right? And I thought about it and, I said, well, because I'm not who he was. I'm not who he was. I'm more of who he became after he started to find God and realize what life is about. That's what I want to emulate is that, but I'm not who my dad was. So what kind of person would I be if I thought, well, that's the kind of thing that happens to bad people and he's just going to have to stay in a nursing home for the rest of his life. Well, now all of a sudden I'm kind of equal to what he did. And that's not going to help me to be able to overcome the
Yeah.
trauma that I had in my childhood. Life should never be, tit for tat. Like I'm pretty sure TLC said it best, like two assholes only make a bigger stink, right?
Mm.
So I'm not about to be that other asshole. I want to do good things in my life and I want to carry myself with the highest dignity that I can, regardless of what I've gone through. My
Yeah.
dad, there's no excuse for what my dad did, but there's a reasoning behind it, on what his parents did to him and what he witnessed when he was a child. And he wasn't strong enough to be able to ask for help. And to be very honest, I just talked about this the other day. Finding help back in the 80s and 90s and even 2000s, you didn't just pick up a box
Yeah.
and say, hey, phone, take me to my nearest person. We now have zero excuses. Back in the day, if you're young, we had phone books and landlines. You'd have to open up the phone book and go through the yellow pages to even find somebody, to humble yourself, to walk through a door, to say what your crap was and what you needed help with.
I remember when I used a map to get around. Did you not? I mean, we had
Mhm.
maps, physical paper maps that you
Yeah.
keep in your glove box. And so we're about the same age,
Yeah.
Darcie, I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even back then too, it was embarrassing to need help.
Mhm.
It was an embarrassment to be in therapy. That was something that it was not something people talked about. It was frowned upon. Now it's like, who doesn't need therapy?
Right. Right.
Wow. You know what it sounds like to me? And I really resonate with what you were talking about with how your dad either didn't have the impulse or the tools to move through a healing process for himself and be the better version of himself, but you did. And I resonate with that because there's a lot of that in my family too. And what I've seen and what it sounds like you have experienced here is you are the end point of the generational trauma. It's like the buck stops here with Darcie. You are not going to be passing this shit on to your own kids.
Mhm.
And you, by virtue of flipping it around and being the support and the love and taking care of your father the way that you did, boy, talk about ending that generational trauma. Talk about rewriting the script. I think that's incredible.
Well, and not just me. I mean, like I said, I'm the
Mm-hmm.
oldest. I have 8 siblings, right? So 8 out of 9 of us are productive, successful parts of society. I have one brother that's in and out of jail all the time. He has an alcohol problem, checks out. He follows very much in my dad's footsteps. He just doesn't really have the desire to change. So he's just in the category of one. I can't deal with that. My other brother is actually going to be graduating from drug court next week after successfully making it through an entire stint of finding sobriety after having an addiction to drugs for over 20 years. So 8 out of 9 of us, I mean, I have a sister who's an AODA counselor. I have 2 sisters that work at a dermatology office, one that works at a hospital, every single person said, nope, we are not taking this forward anymore. This is going to stop. And a lot of us have made mistakes just like everybody else because we're human. But we've learned how to step into the light and say mistakes have been made here. And we need to figure out how to not do that again. You never really fail at something if you take a lesson from it. You have to take a lesson from the things you go through in life and do it better the second, the third, the fourth time. And that's what we've been able to do.
That's what I teach my daughter. There's absolutely nothing wrong with making a mistake as long as you take responsibility for the mistake that you made and do better next time.
Absolutely.
Those are the two things. Hey everybody, it's Melanie from The Why of It All. You guys already know Gina and I are passionate about healing mind, spirit, and body. And that's why we're proud to be sponsored by a brand whose passion for wellness runs as deep as ours, Tulip Blooms. Tulip Blooms is a family-owned American small business that handcrafts a variety of small-batch premium skincare products, such as their original flagship product, Rainfall. Rainfall is a luxurious, lightweight face and body lotion made with soothing aloe vera and a powerhouse blend of cold-pressed botanical oils like jojoba, rosehip, and evening primrose. Rainfall is my go-to daily body lotion. I love that it's made with only the highest quality of pure, clean, natural ingredients. There's no synthetics at all, and it absorbs quickly, delivering lasting hydration without any greasiness. There are many scents to choose from, even unscented, but my favorite is rose geranium. Rainfall is gentle enough for the face, nourishing enough for the body, and the perfect daily go-to, especially after sun exposure when your skin craves extra care. Visit tulipblooms.shop and use our exclusive promo code HEAL, that's HEAL, at checkout for 10% off your order. I love that, Darcie. Here's what I'm interested in going down next. So you lived this incredibly traumatic childhood, the foster system, running away from home, teenage pregnancy. Did I get that right, or was it a little older than that?
Nope, I was 17.
Okay, teenage pregnancy. Obviously, lots of chaos and conflict in the home. Then what happened to your father and being in caretaker mode. I mean, it's just on and on and on, the roller coaster that you explained. Take us back to the pivot point where maybe you're just moving through life and you're just reacting to whatever's happening in life, being the effect of your circumstances, things happening to me. But at some point, you shifted. At some point, you started making different decisions, started changing your mindset to get you to the point now where you're a best-selling author and you have this beautiful podcast about positivity and healing. I want to know about that pivot point. And then from the pivot point going forward, talk about your healing journey.
So about 2 years ago only is when the pivot point happened. There was a lot of yelling at God. There was a lot of being real mad. Like, what is the deal, man? Like, what was I like a crappy person in my past life? What did I do? Like, why is it so much that's happening to me? To me? What about me? Are you forgetting about me? Like, why aren't you taking care of me? And then it kind of dawned on me, like, okay, so how do you think you're going to attract any type of positivity when you're just sitting here pissed off about everything that's happening to you? You know, there's stuff that's happening to people in the world too, right? And that doesn't take away from my feelings, but we're not going to sit here and keep allowing life to knock you down. You just can't. And you have to figure out a way to get stronger. So I started thinking, okay, I'm going to start pouring into my faith. I'm going to start, why should God continue to bless me because I say I believe in God and I pray at night? How about if you open your Bible? How about if you actually learn about God? How about if you actually learn about, the past and what he did and how people walk through? My husband and I are actually right now doing a challenge of read the Bible in a year. And as crazy as it is, tomorrow's the 2-month anniversary of my dad being in heaven, and Eric and I are 3 months into reading the Bible. So we were already a month in before my dad died. Tomorrow will be 3 months in. So that was a pivot point for me. It's like, you have such great advice to tell other people. And I think a lot of people have great advice to tell other people, but you need to stand in the mirror and tell yourself, and then you need to follow it. So I'm sitting here telling my sisters and my friends, oh, well, this is what I would do. And then I'm going to go home and eat a whole row of Oreos and feel pissed off about life. And it's like, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to get up earlier and drink our water. And we are going to start to create what I created, which is my trauma toolbox. That's what I call it. I call it my trauma toolbox. So I have different tools inside of the trauma toolbox. So when things are happening, I'm not like spiraling, because so many people are spiraling and now it's just bad and the world is so mean and God's a bully and I don't know what to do. Well, guess what? You do know what to do. It's kind of like if you're going to sit down and you're going to do your makeup. Do you put your lipstick on first? Probably not. Do you do your brows first? Some people. To me, that's weird. I don't do that first.
I do. I do.
Listen, if
I'm a weirdo.
if I did brows first, all over 110%. That's talent. I put like skincare on first, right? Like you should be putting your skincare on first, and then you should be putting like a primer on and letting it, and there's a system. So you don't just sit down and say, well, I don't know, I'm going to put blush on, then I'm going to put foundation on. Well, that's not going to work out well for you probably. So I decided, okay, well, let me see what works, what feels good. So, okay, I'm having a moment. I'm going to turn on some music. Yep, nope. Corn radio is not helping me right now. Freak on a Leash is making me get real mad. So I'm not going to listen to that. Oh, Jamie McDonald has a song. It's called Desperate. Oh, that feels nice. That I like. And then I started to think, okay, I think if I can distract my brain from what I'm feeling right now, it's going to help me get through, not over, because if we're trying to get over things, the thing is still sitting here, right?
Yes.
It's like if you jump over something, what you're jumping over is still sitting here. But if you're going through it, you're going through it and hopefully pushing it, not to the side, you're just pushing it away. So I started listening to music, and then, that wasn't helping. 2 songs in, I'm like, okay, something else. Let's try to take a shower. Let's try to go for a walk. Let's try to call somebody. Let's try to write something down. And I just started to create a map of now I have things I can go to that instead of spiraling, I'm utilizing the things that I know are going to work. Even if I have to do 3 or 4 of them, one of them's going to hit. And they're healthy things. It's not like, oh, the vodka didn't work, let's go to the rum. It's not like that. So it's using the proper tools that are healthy for your mind, body, and soul to help get you from spiraling. Because when you spiral like a corkscrew, that corkscrew doesn't just pull out, it has to be unscrewed. So when you're allowing yourself to keep tunneling and tunneling and tunneling, it's going to take you so long to come back up. And I know, I'm right now walking through the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life. And the really shitty thing about it is because I know that this isn't it. I know that life's going to happen. I know something's going to happen. So I refuse to stay down and let life keep me down and keep me down and keep me down. So I actually call it my reboot time. When my dad first got shot, I would lay on the sofa, no lie, for probably 3 days. My husband would get up and go to work. I'd get up and I'd lay on the sofa and I would just mindlessly stare at the white ceiling just for hours. Just staring. Like I couldn't even process a thought. It was so scary what was happening. And now if I'm having a moment, admittedly for the last 2 months, it's taking me a little bit longer because this is trauma like I've never experienced before.
Yeah.
But before my dad died, I was in and out of a moment in 20 minutes flat or less. Because now I have tools. So if you're looking at things that are going to help you, like I said, even if maybe you're fixing something and this screwdriver doesn't work, we'll use this one. Don't just say, well, project's over. Too bad. No, I mean, there's so many things that you can relate to. You have to have options, just like with your trauma, just like with your healing. So healing now is being kind to myself. It's being gentle with myself. It's nurturing myself, showing myself grace, allowing myself, if I feel like I need to scream, I'm screaming. If I feel like I need to cry until I'm almost going to throw up, I'm doing that. That's just the reality of going through it, because when you stuff it down and stuff it down and stuff it down, when that thing explodes, it's going to just be so horrible. And then you're going to lash out in all different directions that you don't even want to. So I'm really, like I said, the 3 days later, I was like, you're fine, you're fine. No, absolutely not. That's not a weakness. The fact that I'm learning how to let myself be what you have to be in that moment, as long as it's a safe, secure moment, then do that.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm progressing with my healing this time.
I love it. Gina and I have
love
talked
that.
about how important it is to allow yourself to feel the feelings.
Yes.
Just don't marinate in them indefinitely forever. It's like at some point you have to say, all right, What are my tools? I love that you call it the toolbox. We call it the tool belt. The tools on the tool belt. But at some point, you have to look around and be like, okay, what have I got? What have I got? And not all the same tools are going to work for everybody. And you said what you described is so beautiful. Like Gina and I have talked about how, tools that worked for us months ago don't necessarily work for us right now. For some reason, things have different, they hit differently in different days for different situations. And that's all normal. But having lots and lots of tools on your tool belt, things that will raise your vibration, connect you back to yourself, help ground you, connect you to spirit. These are all beautiful, beautiful things that we can use to move through.
Well, and continuing to search out new ones, because like you said, I found my dad the morning that he passed away. And what had happened that morning was horrible. And it was a vision that for the first month and a half almost, I could not get out of my head at all. Like I couldn't. No amount of music, no amount of water, no amount of Oreos, showers, walking, dog cuddles. It's not going away. And I was sitting in bed one night and I said to my husband, I got to figure this out. Because now this is a new level of trauma. This is something I've never experienced before. And this is very insanely graphic in my mind. And I tried to save my dad. I tried to save him. And he had already been gone for 7 hours and I didn't realize. So I was literally breathing life into my dad's deceased body. It was horrible. So I thought, I got to get this out of my mind. So I'm sitting in bed and I tell Eric, I'm like, babe, I got to figure something else out. And then I was thinking, okay, I got to distract the thought. So, okay, I just watched that movie Beverly Hills Cop with Axel Foley. And there's this one line when he looks at the one detective and he says, we're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe trick either. And I think it's the funniest thing. I just am like cracking up because he's mocking the other, police officer. And I'm like, oh gosh. And then I find myself thinking about that part of the movie. Well, then I was like, oh, that was very interesting. Pretty Woman is one of my favorite movies, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here thinking about that. And I'm like, oh, there's that one part when Kit and Viv are sitting there and they're having a conversation. And Viv's like, tell me somebody else who's made it out of the streets like that, Kit. Tell me somebody else. And Kit says, oh, the pressure of a name, the pressure of a name. Cinda fucking Rella. And I'm like, oh my gosh, brilliant. Okay, so now I'm thinking about the movie. So yeah, the music is really great, but what am I seeing? Musical notes in my head. So now I'm thinking about a movie and now I'm not thinking about my dad and what happened that morning. Yeah. And I was like, oh, new tool in the box.
I love it.
And that is what has seriously worked for the last 2.5 weeks to take the vision now out of my head. Right? So it's like different levels of trauma, different stages of life. You're going to still have to be creative about the way that you're going to stop the vision, the thought, the feeling, whatever it is. So it's a never ending process.
Yeah. Yeah. So you posted recently about the divine intervention with the machine.
Oh,
the night he passed. Would you be willing to share that story? Because I was 100%. Reading that and I got goosebumps when you were sharing that.
This is like the most crazy thing, I think. And you guys have just heard like just a little skim of crazy things that have happened in my life. But this is the one that I cannot wait to get on stages and tell people about. Because if people need to get brought to the Lord, this is it. So 2 years ago this month, my dad was in the hospital for bronchitis and double pneumonia. They sent him home on a BiPAP machine, which basically people use for sleep apnea. They figured with my dad's lack of movement that this would help circulate things around in his lungs if there was secretions or if he aspirated earlier on the day or something like that or whatever. He hated that damn machine when it first came home. He was ripping it off. He was putting it on his head like a unicorn. He was pulling it. I was like, son of a bitch, this is not going to work because this alarm is going off. And we're all up. And I'm like, Dad, dude, I need you to stop pulling it off. Like, this is like having a newborn baby. Eric and I go downstairs. We hit the alarm code. We put the mask back on. Daddy, I'm going to need you to stop doing that because we want to sleep and this is for your safety. We come upstairs, get into bed. Alarm's going off. Son of a bitch. Like, go back downstairs, put it back. I'm like, The one morning we woke up, he had it on his eye. And I'm like, Dad, you're going to blow your eye out. Like, you can't, that force of that. Stop doing that. Took about 2 weeks for him to be like, okay, it's not as bad as what I thought it was. And he would leave it. But if the seal would break, so if he stuck his finger through like this, like to itch his face, or if he yawned, my dad had the biggest yawn. My granddaughter, she's 5, Tinkerbell, we call her. She called my dad Papa Bear because he sounded like a bear to her when he would yawn. So he had
Sounds like my husband.
He had this big yawn, so it would break the seal. There was also an alarm that would sound if he took less than 6 breaths in a minute. And it never sounded because of that. It was always a disconnect because he stuck his finger, pulled it off, unicorned it, whatever. So I woke up on October 14th at 2 something in the morning. Just felt like, ooh, I get anxiety a lot. I have insomnia. Obviously, I've been through a lot of stuff. So I'm just sitting there. I'm looking on Pandora. What music are you going to play to try to calm me down? And I heard my dad make a noise. And I thought, I wonder if you should go downstairs and check on your dad. And I thought, well, why would you go downstairs and check on your dad? That machine is like your safety. You've been doing this now for 2 years. If it sounds, there's an issue. If it doesn't, he's fine. Don't go down there and piss him off and wake him up. He hates that. So I just left it. And I laid back down. We went to sleep. We woke up the next morning. We read our Bible. We had the dogs all in bed with us. Our boys are just getting along again after we invested a year and 4 months into reconnecting 2 dogs that were aggressively fighting each other.
Wow.
So we finally put a year and 4 months, and I'm like, oh, this is be the best day ever. I just feel it. Everything was vibing. It was so good. And I walked downstairs and I went up to my dad like how I did every morning. And he was like this. And that is how he slept. And I grabbed his hand and I pulled it down to say, good morning, Dad. And I could immediately tell by the look on his face something was not right. And I screamed to Eric and I said, babe, kennel the dogs. I have to call 911. I don't think my dad's breathing. BiPAP machine is still on, blowing into him. There's something that's called the spontaneous trig. And what that is it will show how much work is being done by the machine and how much work is being done by the human. So during sleep apnea, that's the whole thing. You stop breathing multiple different times. That's what these machines are supposed to do, is kick in to be like, ooh, you're not breathing. Let me help you out. So the percentage was on 12. So I'm like, okay, Dad's breathing, but something's wrong because he was discolored. So I shut the machine off because if I would have torn the mask off, otherwise it's going to be screaming in an alarm while I'm trying to talk to the 911 operator.
Yeah.
So I'm doing the chest compressions and CPR, EMTs come and they're like, no, he's been gone for a while. I said, how could he have been gone for a while? We've had that machine for 2 years. It did not sound at all. He was like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe there was a malfunction. I'm like, wow, well, great timing to have a malfunction on the day my dad passes away. So when they came to pick the machine up, the company, I asked her, can you stick the USB in it and pull the read off? Because we did it once a year to send to the sleep doctor anyway, make sure everything was, status quo the way it was supposed to be. So she said, yeah, took it in, messaged me back. And she said, there is nothing faulty about that machine. Everything was set exactly the way we had set it when we were there earlier in the summer. The alarm was on. Nothing was wrong with that machine. And I said, well, that was God. 110%. That was God. And nobody can convince me different. I don't care who you are, what you've experienced in your life. God knows everything about us so well, and he didn't just decide, Darcie's done really good in these last 6 years, being a really good human. I'm going to save her from seeing her dad die. No, he already wrote my story before I was knitted together in my mom's womb. This has already been done. So God knew that if that machine would have sounded, I would have been downstairs, see my dad passing away. I probably would have been able to save him. But how much longer would he have gone without oxygen? And now he already had a brain injury, and how much worse could the injury have been? And then how would my dad's quality of life have been, and how would mine and Eric's quality of life have been? I mean, God's timing is always perfect. That's the one thing that has brought me so much like comfort. My dad was smiling. He had this grin on his face when I found him, and I remember actually being pissed because I was like, what the F? Like, why are you smiling? And I'm like freaking out. Like, what's going on? I know this is weird, but I like pulled his eyelid up because my dad was like such a shyster. I'm like, are you screwing with me? Is this a joke? Like, what? I cannot figure out why this is happening. And either he was having a really good dream when he passed away, or he saw the Lord. He just had like the most beautiful smile on his face, and was exactly how I put him to bed that night before. It is, I just said to my brother, I said, to know that God loves me that much, and that our lives are that well planned out and that well thought out, how can you not trust what's coming? Because you know that it's going to be done in perfection. It was to know that I was chosen to have that kind of blessing, and how peacefully that he took my dad, with how horrific that he could have went on October 3rd. I mean, how can I? That's why the grieving this time is so different, because the blessing, it's all about perception.
Yeah.
I can sit here and be, and I think I am kind of in the stage of being angry, but definitely not at God. I'm angry at the person that shot my dad in the first place. Because we shouldn't even be here in this place at all. My dad should have been here for Thanksgiving, smelling the turkey 15 times while I'm going, Dad, stop taking the top off because it screws up the cooking time of the turkey. Stop doing that. We're having him here for Christmas, and now this will be my first Christmas without him. And then I have to, again, with perception, be like, yeah, but you're not really without him. He's all encompassing and everywhere. And now he's spending his first Christmas with the Lord. Like, how incredible is that?
Wow.
Right.
So it's perception.
Absolutely. 100%.
So that was a pivot point for me. It's like, you have such great advice to tell other people. And I think a lot of people have great advice to tell other people. But you need to stand in the mirror and tell yourself. And then you need to follow it. So I'm sitting here telling my sisters and my friends, oh, well, this is what I would do. And then I'm going to go home and eat a whole row of Oreos and feel pissed off about life. And it's like, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to get up earlier and drink our water, and we are going to start to create what I created, which is my trauma toolbox. That's what I call it. I call it my trauma toolbox. So I have different tools inside of the trauma toolbox. So when things are happening, I'm not like spiraling, because so many people are spiraling and now it's just bad and the world is so mean and God's a bully and I don't know what to do. Well, guess what? You do know what to do. It's kind of like if you're going to sit down and you're going to do your makeup. Do you put your lipstick on first? Probably not. Do you do your brows first? Some people. To me, that's weird. I don't do that first.
I do.
Listen,
I'm a weirdo.
If I did brows first, all over 110%. That's talent. I put like skincare on first. Right? Like, you should be putting your skincare on first, and then you should be putting like a primer on and letting it, and there's a system. So you don't just sit down and say, well, I don't know, I'm going to put blush on, then I'm going to put foundation on. Well, that's not going to work out well for you probably. So I decided, okay, well, let me see what works, what feels good. So, okay, I'm having a moment. I'm going to turn on some music. Yep, nope, corn radio is not helping me right now. Freak on a Leash is making me get real mad. So I'm not going to listen to that. Oh, Jamie McDonald has a song. It's called Desperate. Oh, that feels nice. That I like. And then I started to think, okay, I think if I can distract my brain from what I'm feeling right now, it's going to help me get through, not over, because if we're trying to get over things, the thing is still sitting here, right?
Yes.
It's like if you jump over something, what you're jumping over is still sitting here. But if you're going through it, you're going through it and hopefully pushing it, not to the side, you're just pushing it away. Yeah. So I started listening to music, and then, that wasn't helping. 2 songs in, I'm like, okay, something else. Let's try to take a shower. Let's try to go for a walk. Let's try to call somebody. Let's try to write something down. And I just started to create a map of, now I have things I can go to that instead of spiraling, I'm utilizing the things that I know are going to work. Even if I have to do 3 or 4 of them, one of them's going to hit. One
Yeah.
and they're healthy things. It's not like, oh, the vodka didn't work. Let's go to the rum. It's not like
Yeah.
that. So it's using the proper tools that are healthy for your mind, body, and soul to help get you from spiraling. Because when you spiral like a corkscrew, that corkscrew doesn't just pull out, it has to be unscrewed. So
Yeah.
when you're allowing yourself to keep tunneling and tunneling and tunneling, it's going to take you so long to come back up. And I know, I'm right now walking through the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life. And the really shitty thing about it is because I know that this isn't it. I know that life's going to happen. I know something's going to happen. So I refuse to stay down and let life keep me down and keep me down and keep me down. So I actually call it my reboot time. When my dad first got shot, I would lay on the sofa, no lie, for probably 3 days. My husband would get up and go to work. I'd get up and I'd lay on the sofa and I would just mindlessly stare at the white ceiling just for
Mm.
hours, just staring. Like I couldn't even process a thought. It was so scary what was happening. And now, if I'm having a moment, admittedly, for the last 2 months, it's taking me a little bit longer because this is trauma like I've never experienced before.
Yeah.
But before my dad died, I was in and out of a moment in 20 minutes flat or less because now I have tools. So if
Yeah.
you're looking at things that are going to help you, like I said, even if maybe you're fixing something and this screwdriver doesn't work, we'll use this one. Don't just say, well, project's over. Too bad.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's so many things that you can relate to. You have to have options, just like with your trauma, just like with your healing. So healing now is being kind to myself. It's being gentle with myself. It's nurturing myself, showing myself grace, allowing myself, if I feel like I need to scream, I'm screaming. If I
Yeah.
feel like I need to cry until I'm almost going to throw up, I'm doing that. Like that's just the reality of going through it because when you stuff it down and stuff it down and stuff it down, when that thing explodes, it's going to just be so horrible.
And I think about this crazy life you've had and everything you've gone through, and it's something that I have observed and spiritual teachers of mine speak about is that those of us who have come here with the purpose of being leaders and teachers for humanity, we're going to go through some shit.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the value of the reference points that we get from having gone through what we've gone through and gone, like you said, through it and come out the other side. We have perspective and reference points that people who have lived a rather padded life are not going to have. So it sets us up to fulfill the divine purpose that God has planned for us. And if we didn't go through everything we went through, we wouldn't be who we are, ready, willing, and able to show up to contribute to humanity in a meaningful way.
Absolutely.
So I love your story so much. I love that you are moving through it and that you are sharing it so openly and so authentically with your audience and with the world, right, Gina? Like,
Yes, I have to say, Darcie, I lost my father in 22,
mhm.
and it was the most traumatic thing I've been through thus far. And I just have to commend you because 2 months post his passing, I would not have been able to be interviewed and not be shedding tears and probably crying and the face and like I was. It took me. It took me a while. It took me a while. So I just commend you for, being in the place you're at right now. And not that you still don't have hard days. I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm sure those days come. I'm sure you feel them. I'm sure you sit with the grief.
Yeah.
And I've come to realize that it's just something you live with now. I live with that grief. I don't feel like it's ever going to go away. And I'm okay with sitting next to the grief, and I'm okay with now my father not being in the physical form because I know he's all around me.
Mhm.
I feel him. And so that's a comfort,
Yeah.
I know you know what I mean and how I
Mhm.
feel.
I'm
Yeah.
so sorry for your loss too. I mean, there is,
Thank you.
we experience all kinds of different losses, but there's something different about when you start losing like the people you've known your whole life,
Right.
your
Yeah.
grandparents, your parents,
Right.
like I've lost many friends, unfortunately, but when it's like somebody who's actually in particular giving you life,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
a hard one to have to process, and it's a hard one to have to go through. And the crazy thing is because a lot of us unfortunately do have to go through it because kids shouldn't, go before their parents.
No.
But, it is one of those things that, like you said, you're never going to just be like, "Oh, I remember that. That's not even a big deal anymore." It's
Mhm.
always going to be a big deal. And
Always.
something somebody said to me said, the more that you carry that along with you is just showing of how much you love that person. And that's
Yeah.
Agree.
kind of like a beautiful thing, right? Because if you
Mhm.
just, well, that's what life is and people just, that's what happens. Well, you know what,
Mm.
that very well may could be, but that doesn't make us any less human here on earth.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that earth pain is so real. So I
It
get
is.
it.
And
Yeah.
I try to honor him in my daily life. He is always with um in personal or professional or the podcast, he is a driving force. And so he's very much alive in my mind and in my spirit. And I would never, I don't know, the few months after he died, it's like I had this overwhelming feeling of not wanting people to forget about him. It was
Mm,
weird. It
yeah.
was like I just did not want to people to forget about the life that he lived on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
It was I don't struggle with that so much anymore because I know all that matters that he's alive in my heart and in my
Mm-hmm.
mind.
Mm.
But for a long time I struggled with, oh, nobody's going to talk about him anymore. Nobody's going to talk about the old days or when he did this, and I've healed since
Mm-hmm.
then, but I always try to keep him very much alive in my conversations, in my thoughts, and my prayers, and just talking to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
that too. And
Do
my
you?
dad was here to see the book happen. He was here to see the
Oh,
podcast come to
good.
fruition. So, we sat here and celebrated that together. I read the chapter that I wrote that he was in about him kind of being a jerk. And I said, well, it just is reality. Sorry. So that's what we're gonna do here. But
Hmm.
he got to see the whole thing, and it's like it's cool because he's gonna see everything that I do in my life. But there
Yes.
was something about even with him being disabled, he could still do thumbs up, thumbs down, shake his head yes, shake his head no. Automation would come out. But he got so good at smooching at the end. So if I would go up and say, okay, well, I did a good job, give me a smooch, and he'd give me like this really good mwah, and it's like
I
the best thing ever. But we held hands when I read the book to him, and the way that he would just look at me and he used to take his thumb and kind of rub it on my hand, like, I'm so proud of you.
You're going to
So
be
it's
able
like,
to carry that. You're going to be able to
yes,
carry that with you and have those beautiful, beautiful memories.
yeah,
Mm.
perfect
Do you want to
timing.
share with our audience how they can find you, your book, your
hmm
podcast, all of that?
hmm
Well, I'm
Yes.
pretty much everywhere. So my biggest platform is honestly Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
But the podcast is everywhere. It's on Spotify, iHeartRadio. I'm posting currently to YouTube. I'm everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. I mean, you'll find me.
Okay, great. And tell our audience the name of your book.
It's Empower Her.
Great.
Power her.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Empower Her. It's a
Beautiful.
collaborational book with 24 other authors that have very just, I mean, if you need to be moved, if you need to see how taking hard times and turning it into something incredible happens, not just with one person, but with multiple, that's the book.
Oh, I love it.
Very,
I love
very
it.
neat.
Any closing thoughts? Anything that you want to say to wrap up for anybody who has lived the roller coaster or going through a recent loss or anything you'd like to leave us with?
Well, I mean, as we're approaching the holidays here, it doesn't matter how long, even like Gina said with her dad passing away 3, 4 years ago, it's still hard when you go into these things,
Yeah.
right? And so
It
giving
is.
yourself that time, that grace, honoring your loved ones, honoring yourself, allowing yourself to have a moment to breathe, but, letting it just be a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Don't let it be
Right.
the whole day, the whole weekend, the whole week, the whole month, the whole year, your
Yeah.
whole life.
Yeah.
Turn it into a moment. Just have your moment, do what you need to do, get that reboot time, and just live. There's no time limit on healing, but there is a time limit on our life.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So we
I
got to
love
live
that.
every single day, just to the best of the ability, and
Mhm.
carry whoever we're missing with us, and whatever happened in the past stays in the past. We're not going that way, so we don't look back. We just stay going forward.
Beautiful. I absolutely
Beautiful,
love it.
Darcie.
Thank you so much for being with us here today. We're going to put all of the links for all of your stuff down in the show notes so that anybody looking for it can find it easily there. And wow, this has been so incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Everyone, if
Darcie.
you have enjoyed this episode, do us a favor, go down and hit the little positive affirmation button. Every like, follow, subscribe button that you press for us is really the very best way to support us. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.